Hello and welcome to another episode of Veterans to Success, the podcast where I get to speak to some seemingly ordinary people who have extraordinary stories. Hi, my name is Joe O'Connor, the founder and CEO of the Transformer Company, and my mission is to help 1 million veterans and business owners achieve the dreams, goals and aspirations they deserve. Right, now for those who are watching this on YouTube, you will notice that I'm in a rather precarious position. I'm balanced on rocks, and in the background I have got the Jugal Mountain Range and the Jugal Glacier, which is absolutely fabulous. And I just wanted to do this because we've been on an unclimbed peak expedition, and it got me thinking, right, about improvise, adapt and overcome. And by the way, guys, there's no video prompts, there's no teleprompter, I haven't even got microphones. I'm recording this from my phone. It's just that it's such a spectacular opportunity to share this moment with you that I just wanted to do it. My microphone ran out of charge, my solar griller and power griller are still charging, so I've not been able to charge that up. I know you're thinking planning and preparation prevents poor performance, but we're running everything on minimum here. We're almost we're 4,800 meters, so we haven't got much power sources, nothing to plug into. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is 3 words that I learned in the military, which is improvise, adapt and overcome. Right, now if you're listening and you're ex-military, you were probably indoctrinated with the fact that your regiment was the best, and as a Royal Engineer, guess what, I'm no different. As far as I'm concerned, the Royal Engineers are the best for the simple reason that we service all arms. Now, for instance, and I know we're well respected. We can make showers in the forest, we do water points, bridging, demolitions, roads and airfields, and I'm really proud to be a sapper. Now, I've made some notes here, so forgive me if I keep looking down and you hear the rustle of pages. Now, what I've discovered in life, because I'm no longer in my 20s, believe it or not, I am a little bit older, is find a quiet place. Now, I'm just going to be quiet for a moment and listen. The only interference is that of a waterfall, and you might hear porters and Sherpas in the background, but I've got as far away as I possibly can from base camp without falling off the edge of a cliff, because I don't want to do that anymore. I've done that once and it hurt. So, you know, I'm going to take you through the 7 stages of improvise, adapt and overcome, because I thought that might be really helpful for you. Now, I'll just take you through a little bit. About 25 years ago, at this point I was lying in bed, and I was paralysed. Right, I wasn't feeling that great actually, and I had a wife who was pregnant with a second son, and I already had a 4-year-old son, and things weren't looking so good. And I was supposed to do the New York Marathon the week after, which was a few weeks ago actually, and I thought it was quite poignant that I'm here and I'm able to share this story with you. And the one thing that I've discovered is that, you know, rather than just crack on with reviewing results, right, it's about getting things right. My business has nearly failed, you know, my marriage failed, and I was at a low, real bottom, and I recognise that some of the parts of finding out where you are is discovering exactly what you want out of life, because I suppose you can't measure where you are until you know where you want to go to, if that makes sense. Now, that might seem a bit reverse engineering. What I mean by that is that if you're happy, if your point where you want to get to is where you are now, well then that's great. It's not the best thing to do, in my opinion, because every day is a school day, right? So consider the options that are available. And I'm going to take you through 7 points that will really help you. And just hang on, I'm just going to make, I just want to refer to my notes. Now, the improvise, adapt and overcome, yeah, I've just read this and it reminds me. The reason why it really worked when I was in the military is the one thing that you can never take away from those guys, and certainly not me, is my sense of humour, the team morale, and the motivation to succeed. And I believe that if you've got that, you can get over pretty much everything. Right, so when you come across a challenge, right, because you're going to do that. I just recorded something for to wish people a happy Christmas, right? And what I recognise is that this year has been full of trials and tribulations, peaks and troughs, booms and busts. You know, you can look at the financial markets, you can look at the business markets, you can look at the personal markets, you can look at employment, unemployment, you can look at pretty much everything. And stuff has been tough. And guess what? I can guarantee 2025 is going to bring? Well, it's going to be some challenges, peaks and troughs, trials and tribulations, booms and busts, just the same. And it's about how you deal with it. So this podcast, I'm only going to keep it short, because I've got to finish, because the sun's going to go down behind the mountain in about 15-20 minutes. Then I'll be absolutely freezing because it'll go below zero. At the minute, it's quite warm. So I want to give you the value as best as I can. Right, so the first top tip to get over the difficulty is identify the challenge. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is recognise the strengths and weaknesses you and or your team have at your disposal to handle the threat. Because yeah, of course, the challenge could be hard, but you don't know who you've got in your team, and maybe because you'll be so focused on the problem, you forget how much information you already know. You'll be amazed at what you know already, if that makes sense. And also, I don't know how old you are. I like to think, until a few years ago, I was 26. You can quite clearly see, that's on my side of my eyes, by the way. On your side of my eyes, I'm cleverly disguised with sunglasses and a hat. But if you zoom in, you can see that I'm a little bit older than 26. And over the last, about 5 years, I feel things are changing, right? So what that brings to me on the good side, it may mean that I'm a bit slower to do stuff physically. What it does mean, though, is as I've amassed some skills, expertise and wisdom. So when you put that together and think about what you know, because even if you're quite a bit younger than I am, you still learn a lot, right? And when you were a baby, right, the challenge was to learn to walk. Just because you fell down the first time, did you give up? No, did you? Unless you had a physical inability to walk. The vast majority, did you give up? No. You got up and you kept giving it a go until you could walk. And sadly, that's what's missing as we get older. You know, when we're told you can't do that, you can't do this. I was speaking to Brian Jackson, who's going to be on the podcast. I'm going to do a podcast while we're up in the mountains with him as well, because he spent his entire life in the mountains, or maybe from a 1 year old, who knows. We'll find out when I chat with him. And so many times you're told that you can't do things, which is a real shame. So first one is identify the challenge, recognise the skills you have and the wisdom and expertise, and also the skills, wisdom and expertise other people you have. Even if you haven't got a team directly that you employ, you've still got a team of people that you know, friends, family. And be careful, by the way, if people say you can't do it, that's not necessarily correct. What it means is they can't do it. So don't let your success be governed by someone else's self-limiting belief. So number 2, right, this is important as well. In fact, without this, you could just go head first into the problem and then crash and burn. Crash and burn, by the way, is you don't get over it. Right, so this next point, with it, you'll absolutely smash it. And without it, you'll have difficulty. Because this point is examine the threat to you. Right, because even though it might be a threat, it might not affect your team or you. For instance, I'm looking around at the mountains now, and I can see that there's shed loads of snow on each of the peaks, and you can see as well, if you're watching this on YouTube and you zoom in, there's a lot of snow. What's the problem with that? It looks lovely. The problem is it could cause an avalanche. Now, this is peak time of day, really. 3:15 in the afternoon. If an avalanche is going to happen, it's probably going to happen around now. And there's landslides as well, which has been a few while I've been here. The fact is that where I am at the minute, it's not a threat to me. So examine the threat to you and or your team. And what, if any, opportunity is the opportunity for you? What impact will the threat have on your overall performance? Like, for instance, if there was an avalanche here, it wouldn't affect me. I've seen avalanches before. If you've not seen one before, it might frighten you a bit because they do make an awful big sound. Right, so coming back to business sense or your personal life sense, you might make mountains out of a molehill. You've heard that, haven't you? You know, you make a big deal out of something that's not really that big a deal, right? And then there might be something else that is a big deal. So then, as we're going along, you know, we've got the first one, identify the challenge, examine the threat to you and your family as well, or if it's not your team, and if you have got a team, examine that, and you know, you got to also measure how important it is and what the impact of the failure would be. Like collateral damage, we say in the military. Collateral damage, it's sad, I know, it's acceptable to have a 60-40% chance of success, and sometimes maybe even less. I remember I was on a massive exercise, I think it was Belgium, it was certainly Germany, British Army on the Rhine when the Cold War was going on. And my squadron went in and we were given tasks of building bridges, putting mine warfare, minefields in place, crossing ditches for tanks, putting the equipment so they could get across the ditches. And we worked really, really hard. I think we grafted 36 hours non-stop, might have been a bit longer. And then all of a sudden the DS, directive staff, he's the one that is like a referee, and came along, and then we heard him say to our Sergeant Major and Officer Commander, right, your whole squadron's wiped out. And what had happened, right, is this is a squadron of 180 men. And at that time, did we have some women? Yeah, I think we did actually, because we had some women who were drivers for us. Obviously, it's a lot more balanced now. Back in the 80s, though, there weren't a lot of tasks, certainly any engineers, that women could do. And he said, what do you mean we're wiped out? Well, you were a decoy. What happened was we won the battle. You were collateral damage. You were an acceptable loss. What had happened is while the enemy were focusing on us, paratroopers went in behind enemy lines and then took the enemy out. All right. Now, I'm not saying that I'm suggesting that you wipe out your team. All I'm saying is that sometimes if something doesn't go quite right, but the overall impact is success, well, don't sweat it. Just accept that as collateral damage. Okay, what have we got next? 3, consider the options available, whether they're physical, emotional, or spiritual. Right, so what do I mean by this? Let's have a think. Now, there might be in your team or someone you know, for instance, let's put it into this trek point of view, right? There's no way that us, as each of the individuals who are on the trek, could carry all the kit that we need, right? So we have porters, and the Sherpas are like the special forces of the Himalayas, and they're just great at what they do. They put in lines are the ropes. They just go ahead, they do recce's, and by the way, reconnaissance is part of the Pathfinder program, and you can find that by visiting joeteams.com, joeteams.com, which you've got lots of resources there. And so the physical part can be overcome. Emotional, right? What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes, I thought I heard an avalanche then. No. Sometimes emotional experience or the way an emotion Oh, it is. Listen to that. That was, I don't think that was snow. I think that was rock. It was certainly an avalanche. If you can still hear it. I think that was on the other side of the mountain. Made a heck of a noise though. So you heard it live here. Wow. Now, emotional reaction. My emotional reaction with them was, wow, you know, you hear this once in a lifetime and you get to hear it live on this podcast. Right, so coming back to the script, right, so consider the options of the spiritual as well. Like, some of you might like to pray, depending on what religion you are. I don't think there's many people in the world who hasn't said at some point in their life, God help me, or Allah help me, or the highest help me, or Buddha, or whoever, Jehovah, whatever religion you are. The thing is, sometimes you just ask for help. And also, if none of that floats your boat and you're not spiritual in that way, there's also meditation. Meditation is personal. There's a crow in the background there interrupting us. You know, spirituality is about meditation as well. Personal fulfillment. I mean, just listen. Now, when I finish this podcast, I'm just going to just lie here for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe a bit longer. And then equipment, right, for the physical. What equipment do you need, right, to get over the challenge, right? Write it down, make a plan. And for the emotional, you get a buddy system. If you can't do something on your own, I'm sure you've got someone you can call upon. And even if you're saying, no, Joe, I haven't. Yeah, you have. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get your butt off the settee, watching the telly, or whatever you're doing, or looking at TikTok for someone who's going to tell you that you're going to be a millionaire overnight if you do absolutely diddly squat. That just doesn't happen. So get yourself a buddy system. Someone's going to watch you back. And by the way, you watch their back as well. And then we've covered this the thing about praying or meditation. Number 4, right. Hey, we're going great guns here. How are we doing? Oh, yeah, we're bang on time. I'm just mesmerised by the views around me. And the sun feels lovely, although it is going down. Probably got about 10 minutes left. Number 4 is a biggie, right? Have a think, right? In the past, how many times have you thought, I can handle this, I'm a big roughy toughy, whether male or female, right? And I can do this on my own, I've got this. And actually, you haven't. You haven't had it, and it's happened to me. I put my hand up. You can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting my hand up, right? Right, so here's the thing. When you get to that point, ask for help, right? Now, I also appreciate, right, at the minute, just immediate help isn't at hand, but within 5 minutes, if I just shouted help, I need help, someone would be here, either one of the other guys on the expedition with me, a Sherpa would be just flying here. In fact, the porters are pretty cool as well. The porters this morning started off just after 7, and they went up and down 400-meter climb across glaciers, right? 400 meters doesn't sound much, but I tell you, when you're at 5,000 meters altitude, starting at 4,750, 400 meters is a lot. And they went up and back in less than 4 hours. I mean, they're just amazing. So ask for help, even if you're out in the sticks. Because what we've had as well is we had walkie-talkies. I was handling the walkie-talkie at base camp. We had someone at high camp, and we had someone intermediate who was going from A to B. So we just checked in at various times. And that's the same with yourself. Ask for help. You may have a friend who knows a little bit more than you and might not even charge, because if you say, I've got no money, well, guess what? If you ask for help, someone's going to give you a hand. I know I was talking to one of the porters, and he received something really quickly. He flew down the mountain edge and came back up, and I thought, wow, you're fit. And I got chatting with him, and it turns out, because the hierarchy of the trekking group is porter, Sherpa, porter, cook, Sherpa, and then you've got the head, right? And I thought, you're fast. I thought, you must be a Sherpa. And it turns out, what was it, about 16 years ago when he was 26, he spent $36,000 on a visa with a Nepalese company to go to America and live his dream. And you know what? It didn't happen. They stole the $36,000 off him. And I got chatting to him, and myself and Brian, who knows a lot about visas and stuff, we're going to see what we can do to help him. Right now, he didn't even ask for help. We were just chatting, and he was telling me his story. Like, we've got all the gear, right? Like boots, we got crampons, double boots, we got down jackets, down mitts, all of it. And this guy went up in just trainers, carrying the kit for the expedition, and he was up and down in 3 hours. I mean, just fabulous. So ask for help, because they helped us, and now I'm going to help him. There's another one. Yeah, I'm going to be getting off here soon. You can ask a work colleague, you can ask a friend, you can ask families, and don't be proud, because pride comes before the fall. I'm not sure if you've heard that, but pride does come before the fall. So always ask for help. And there's someone out there that'll help you. Just excuse me, I want to get a bit comfier. That's right, because something was just sticking in my, bless you. One of the porters or Sherpas was sneezing there. Number 5, with this, right, this is where you're starting to come to the stage where you're overcoming a problem, where you've actually got this bagged and it's smashed. It's decide on the solution you're going to adopt, right? And what I mean by that is, when you've considered the first 4 points, I'm just going to go back and just hang on. I'll go over the first 4 ones. So far you've identified the challenge, you've examined the threat to you and or your team, you've considered the options available, whether physical, emotional or spiritual, and you've asked for help. Right, by this time you're really starting to get a picture. Sometimes, right, I get it, you might have a problem that just needs a split decision. Once you've gone through this process a few times, right, you'll be surprised just how quickly you can amass this information. Like when a problem comes now, I don't dwell on the problem, I look at the solution, because there's no problem greater than the solution, right? So it starts to become second nature. At first, though, it's like driving a car, right? At first, you get in behind the steering wheel, and then you put the keys in, and you think, shit, what do we do now? I've got this thing called an accelerator, a brake pedal, and a clutch if it's manual. If it's not, if it's automatic, you just got an accelerator and a brake. But you're thinking, what do we do? I've got indicators, I've got all these things I've got to look at. And with digital now, you've got all sorts of other stuff going on. So once you get into the swing of the driving, though, you drive second nature, don't you? So this is how you plan something strategically. You look at the timings, i.e. start time, finish time, any breaks you've got. These are for bigger tasks, right? For smaller tasks, it might not be essential. RVs, right? In the Pathfinder, I go through RVs, which are rendezvous. It's when milestones, right? How do you know you're on target? What does you know what the end game is? How you know you're getting there? Because if you don't have milestones, you're going to meander a lot of the time, and you'll have no idea where you are on the journey. Does that make sense? Right. So make rendezvous, milestones. So right, on this day, I'm going to be here. This is what I'll have achieved. This is what the outcome I reckon I'll have by this time. Right. And then we did, because I'm going by military stuff here, actually. Rations. Right. What I mean by that? What do I mean by that is food. Right. If you're going on your own, you only have to cater for you. If you've got a team, you need to cater for the rations. Right. So it's all starting to come into place now. Personnel. Can you do it on your own, or do you need people assisting you? Routes. Right. Now, you might not be going on a mountain trek. The fact is, though, that if you're doing a conference, right, and you need a team, you need the support staff, you need to know what time to get in there, timings for the delegates. Well, you have to get there first. Are you going to go by train? Are you going to go by bus, taxi? Are you going to fly there? What time the start is, the finish, what lunch breaks? So these are routes, right? These are all classed as routes. And then finally, transport, right? If you're going on your own, you can get there by Joe Baxi. You can get there by Shanksy's pony. That's walking, right? You might want to get there by driving yourself. Whatever it is, make sure as well that you set aside enough time for a faff moment. What do I mean by a faff? Well, say in a traffic jam or something just doesn't go right with the journey. So that's what you need to think of. Okay, we're coming to the roundup now, and we're bang on time. I'm pleased to say, I'm getting a bit dry now. I have got water, but unfortunately, it's on the other side of the camera, and I'm not going to crawl past you. So, number 6, right? This is the one that without this, you're just going to carry on. Oh, well, when that happens, it'll be all right. Oh, I've just got to check this out. Oh, and when A happens and B happens and C happens, and then I get to X, Y, Z, then I can do it, right? Which is an absolute load of tosh, right? What do I mean 6? Because with this one, you can just get going. And without it, you'll just keep procrastinating. Well, number 6 is, of course, start. It's not hard. It's not that difficult, right? I had to trek I spent this morning figuring out what I wanted to say in the podcast. In fact, I started thinking about it yesterday. Then I made some notes, and then this morning I've spent about 2 hours picking a particular idyllic site. Because if you're watching this on YouTube, behind me you should be able to see base camp. You'll also be able to see the glacier. You will also be able to see, I think, Jugal 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And the glacier is pretty awesome. And by the way, just as a little environmental plug, when you get rubbish and you're driving along in a car, just have a bag, an empty bag in the car, and put your rubbish in there instead of throwing it out the window. I get so frustrated by people driving. I live in the country. McDonald's wrappers, Big Macs, KFCs, all sorts. I've even seen a bicycle tyre. I mean, what was it even doing there if you weren't using it? Of course, unless you've got a puncture. But just think about the environment. Switch lights off and stuff like that. Right, that's my rant over. I'll probably do a podcast specifically about that. Right, so take action. Right, set the date. When is it? Right, on the 1st of December, I am going to. Right, oh, and by the way, 1st of January, forget it. Right, New Year's resolutions, 99% of them fail within the first week or two. That's my statistic, actually. No one else's, but I bet you it's not far wrong from the truth. Probably set your New Year's resolution to start in February. Because then by then, you'll be spurred on to recognise that most people have failed the New Year's resolutions by either day 1, 2, 3, definitely by day 14, right? So, and don't set a whole load of them either. There's no point, right? Set a couple that are achievable. When you've achieved them, pat yourself on the back and say, well done, and then set another one. And make them simple little things, like set the opportunity clock, not an alarm clock, opportunity clock 15 minutes earlier, or maybe 30 minutes earlier, and then go for a walk. Wow, one of those things where you put your foot in front of the other a number of times. That helps you get fit, right? So just start, and then review your progress against your plan, whatever it was. How many people came to the seminar? Not as many as you wanted, or more than you wanted. Great. What can you learn from that? What was the feedback? Wasn't as great as it was, or it was outstanding. Right, okay, learn from that. Or it might be, here's a tip on when you want to lose weight. do not copy my opinion only, but I've spoken to nutritionists, one of which is on the trek with me, and then Brian is some we were laughing, right? Here's old school, because I was a child back in the 60s and 70s, and we didn't have any of these, I don't know, these diet plans and stuff, right? What we recognised was if you exercise more and eat less, you lose weight. And if you exercise less and eat more, you put weight on. And someone will be, you might be listening to this, they'll be so stupid, Joe. People have got obesity, they've got genetics and everything. Yeah, I get that. But the fact is, though, that if you eat less and exercise more, I bet you'll lose weight. And maybe when you're going shopping at the end of each week or however you do it, look in your basket, how much stodge have you got in there and how many greens have you got in there? Right, there you are. Question, just putting it out there, you answer it. For me, I'm healthy, I'm very fortunate. My wife looks after me fantastically well. I get my 5, 6, 7 a day, sometimes even more. And it's about you are what you eat. That's me done on that. So if you wanted to lose weight, progress, right? And the other thing, I'm choosing weight because it's very topical at the minute. You've got celebrity master chefs and all that going on. The fact is that we're on a very simple nutrition plan here. Well, you've got to be, haven't you? Because when you're going up for 4,700 metres, you can't be carrying a kitchen like these celebrity chefs have. We've got a couple of burners and something of a makeshift oven. So, yeah. And then measure your success against your plan. My top tip, while we're on the subject of weight loss, I would say losing 2 to 3 pounds per week is sustainable. If you're losing any more than that, you're probably going to put it back on pretty sharpish. That's why a lot of the time, slimmer of the year becomes what I say PC. it's not PC. Bunter of the year the next year, because they put on the weight that they lost because they lost it too quickly. And then finally, right, number 7, right, and I found that a lot of people miss this. Even the ones who's taken action and started, a lot of people miss this. Because what do I mean? Right? Because they get so tied up with how successful changing their life has made them that they don't recognise one thing, and that is review the results. Did you get out of it what you wanted? Didn't you get out of it what you wanted? What can you learn from it? Right? What did you do well? What could have gone better? So what did you do well? What could have gone better? What have you learned that'll help you to get a better result next time? This is probably one of the most critical ones, because when the money's flowing in, right, everything's going great and you think, wow, yeah, I'm all right. And then you take the eye off the ball and you're spending all the money you're making because it's a new thing and you can buy all the gadgets you want. And then you look in your bank and you realise you made a lot more money, but you spent a lot more money and you're just the same as you were before you started, which isn't great. Or maybe that you spent a lot of money and you didn't get the results you wanted. So this is when you have to look at what have you learned to help you next time. Right? Say if you made a load of money, you spent a load of money, well, maybe do not spend as much money next time. Maybe give some to charity, put a reserve stuff in. I know people who've made lots of money and forgot to stash away the money to pay the VAT. The VAT men have come after them and taken them to court, and they've been fined, heavy fines as well. So you got to plan strategically. And then the biggest thing is, did you receive the result you wanted? Did you achieve the result you wanted? Well, that's it from me today, sat in the Jugal Mountain Range. I've really enjoyed sharing this. I do sincerely wish that the sound quality was good enough for you. If not, just look at the picture while I'm talking. Look, I'll wave my hands for you as well. And there it is. What a view, hey? Thank you for listening. Thank you for being fantastic. Stay safe, keep warm, especially keep happy, and have a brilliant day. JoeTeams.com is a resource I have created to fulfill my mission to help 1 million veterans and business entrepreneurs like you achieve the goals, dreams, and aspirations
they deserve. JugalTeams.com is jam-packed full of valuable resources specifically designed to help you on your journey to success. Visit JugalTeams.com now to find out how you can join and start your journey to success immediately. That's JugalTeams.com, JoeTeams.com. And until we meet again, have a brilliant day.